the biggest fear we all have is speaking in front of people. One. Second is the fear of height, right? So
welcome to the Old Fashioned Real Estate Show, where hosts Brian Leverage and Jeffrey Holst pour out old-fashioned real estate advice.
Episode 39.
Old-fashioned real estate show.
Hey, Brian, I think you started before the recording started, so I'm going to start that over 1 second, okay? We're going to have to we're going to screw up the recording. So,
okay.
You know what? The only way to stop the recording actually is to end the broadcast. So I'm not going to do that because then I'll be a pain for Chopra here. He's laughing at us. You can't see him. So Brian's not a host, so he can't see this. Yeah. This is going to be our best podcast ever because instead of introducing anyone or even introducing the show, we're just going to roll with it.
Yes,
so, Vinney Chopra, welcome to Old Fashioned Real Estate.
Oh, no, thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Brian. It's such a pleasure to be with you guys. It's sunny in California. I live near San Francisco. It's fairly early. Just had sweat at the elliptical, so I'm ready for you all.
Yeah, no. Well, we appreciate you coming on. We normally don't film at 8 o'clock in the morning your time, so because our show is a drinking show, it's hard for us to film before noon, right? Brian's got his drink, though. I saw him.
I need to come back with my wine glass then.
Oh, for sure, yeah, for sure. You're welcome anytime. I brought myself a coffee with a drinking-themed mug, so I would feel like I was in the right thing. But Brian, he's hardcore, so he went straight alcohol this time. See that?
Oh, look at that. Oh, my God.
Too early in the morning for me, I guess. But listen, we didn't come on to talk about drinking. We came on to talk about you. So I had a little introduction ready for you, so hopefully it doesn't embarrass you too much. I'll just tell everyone. You're an apartment syndicator. I think you've been involved in 28 syndications, over 4,000 units. You have 2 podcasts. You have a best-selling book, maybe 2, a Spanish version of one of your books. And you just told us you have a new book coming out. So we're super excited to have you on the show. So welcome to Old Fashioned Real Estate.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to spend this time with you both. Yes.
Great. So Brian and I have both read your book, and I know he's jumping at ready to ask questions. So go ahead, Brian. What were you going to ask?
Well, I think really the first thing and the most obvious is you have a fascinating story about how you started. I mean, a lot of people think, to acquire what you've done in the time frame that you've actually accomplished it in would take years or decades longer. So, I mean, can you share with the audience, sort of what led you to get into syndicating and how you started and all of that?
Love to, Brian. Just a brief, like I came from India originally with very little money, $7. And I'm an engineer, mechanical engineer. And I came to this country, land of opportunities. I always believed in that I need to come here. Even in junior high school, I knew that I'll be coming to USA. And I went to George Washington University right there to do my MBA in marketing and sales. That changed my life, literally. And I sold books, encyclopedias, educational books, Bible books, door to door, right there outside Atlanta, right there. And that converted me to a salesperson, literally, with the attitude control, confidence, goal setting, things like that. I became a motivational speaker for 37 years, giving all kind of, presentations and things like that. And then we were buying single family homes all over, different states. And then 2004, I became real estate broker in California, in the Bay Area. And I said, I don't want to sell homes. I just felt like I want to get into commercial. And 14 years back to the date, I did not know what was LOI, letter of intent, or cash on cash. I didn't know anything about it, or ROI, return on investment. But I just said, you know what? I want to learn. And that's what, if your audience can really dig into whatever you want to be passionate about, right? You want to really get to the bottom of it and learn and educate yourself. So that's what I did. I spent a lot of money, which I didn't have. We took a loan and paid $30,000 to my coach 14 years back,
Wow.
And Yes.
Probably a very good investment for you then,
Oh
since
my God.
yeah.
For sure. For
it's
sure.
it's hard to throw big chunks of cash out for mentorship or for coaching, but sometimes it can be really valuable for people.
Surely. No,
But you want to make sure you get the right coach too. Obviously, you don't want to just
exactly.
send money to everyone, because that strategy doesn't work either. But
No,
that's great. So that was 14, 15 years ago now. You said 2004, 5, something like that, right?
yes.
Um,
Yes.
and since then, you've done 28 syndications and 4,000 apartment units. That's a lot. I mean, Brian and I have done a few syndications, but we do not have 4,000 apartments. We're not there. So that's impressive stuff for a relatively short amount of time.
Well, thank you. My very first one, it took me 11 months. I would love to take, success doesn't come overnight. That's the other thing. I hope your audience, they are very successful people. It's the tip of the iceberg, right? We only see the success above the water level, but what's underneath the iceberg is where all the hard work goes in, right? So it took me 11 months with my team to buy 14 units for $180,000. That was my first ever buying
Yeah.
apartment. We had duplex and other stuff, single family homes. But then the next one was like 60, 70 units, 109, 200, 300. Now we bought 324 units with my partner, Enzo Multifamily, great people, $52 million deal. So from
Wow.
180,000 to 52.
Yeah, that's a big change. Well, that gives us hope, because our deals are much closer to 180,000 than 52 million. So we have a chance, Brian. So you've been giving back a lot too. I mean, you write the book to help people, and you've already given us like 2 or 3 really practical tips. But you have a podcast and a mentorship platform, all that kind of stuff. What do you think, like, if somebody's trying to start out right now and get into apartments, whether they want to syndicate or they just want to buy apartments themselves, like, what would be the first thing they should do?
Fabulous. The very first thing, like in the book, I talk about 5 plates, because I was getting really consumed with so much knowledge and everything when I started. And when I was writing it 2, 3 years back, the book, I said, let me make it simple. As an engineer, I'm very logical, right? So I said, what are the 5 things to own an apartment? First is, of course, building a team. So very important, so that we are able to take our team members from the brokers to real estate agents, our partner with the principal or net worth. That's important. Then comes the investors, if you want to syndicate, because syndication is the world where you can scale up. I could have been only buying $180,000 or 200 or 400,000, and then I would have stopped literally, because we didn't have money, right? But if we don't have money, we do have abundance of money out there, right there, around us. I mean, 23 trillion with a T, trillion dollars in retirement funds. And a lot of people have a lot of savings in stock market and all that stuff. So syndication, of pulling the money together, was the knowledge I learned for that 30,000. And thank goodness I did. So that's what really got me going. So essentially, anybody just starting out, they should really educate themselves for sure. Secondly, start building your team. That's important. Build your team and also your network of investors. Because even if you do joint partnership or tenants in common, take or like that, you do need money to close on the sale. I'm really fortunate to say that I've closed on every single deal from letter of intent until closing in the last 12 years. So 100% record, but it's only because of my investor base, which I had zero, by the way. I know a lot of people listening to us might be saying, how did you get all these people, right? But the big thing is to put a deck of cards, credibility kit, I call it, because people would like to invest with you if they trust you. If they know you, trust you, they see that you have really changed your, whatever we are doing ourselves, we should really bring the mentorship in there, that I'm learning this business from so and so, and put together a beautiful educational brochure That's what it is. You never ask for money from anybody. I mean, it's hard to get even $5 from anybody, right? But you got to really build the trust and
Yeah.
educate them. Why multifamily? Huh?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure. Brian, you look like you're ready to ask a question, so go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, it's fascinating, right? So, I mean, you just touched on it. You're really selling yourself, right? As much as
Yes.
the opportunity at the end of the day. So you've got to be confident in yourself, and so, what sort of things have you done over the years to reinforce that and build up your self image and so forth.
Totally, totally. I think again, our presentations are the key, right? And I remember in the early years, I joined Toastmasters, Dale Carnegie or other courses also, because the biggest fear we all have is speaking in front of people. One, second is the fear of height, right? So the big thing is the more confident we are in practicing ourselves in front of the mirror, and I literally have done it many, 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 many times, literally speaking to myself or showing the PowerPoint to myself on the laptop, how it's going to be taken by the investors or with my brokers or other people like that. So it's so important that we hone in the skills to put together a deck of cards. We only get one first impression is the best impression, right? We get one chance to really have people look into our eyes and say, is he trustworthy? Does he know what he's talking about? Would he take my money and lose it? Or I'll get my money back, like he's saying, in 3 to 5 years. Would I get the returns? It's the return of capital first, risk. Second is whatever projections Vinny is giving, are they credible? I mean, are they conservative? Can he deliver on it, right? So those things are very, very important. Anybody starting in this business can start small. I mean, we should get 4 unit, 8 unit, 14 unit. I say 70 unit is a good number where you can actually have a full-time manager and a full-time technical guy, right? HVAC, heating and ventilating certified technician, we call it, right? The other part are the loan qualification, which I speak in my book. That's the plate number 4, because once you have a good deal, you have some investors who are going with you to the closing table, right? You're dancing around with them and everything. Make sure they show up at the dance. You're training them, right? So qualifying for the loan is a big thing. Some investors lose that touch. They say, let me underwrite the deal. But when the things come to LOI stage and then closing, then they may not have thought about the reserves they need, the earnest money, the travel budget, and paying for the feasibility studies, things like that. So the money has to be there along with qualifying for the loan. The reason I have closed on every single deal in the last 14 years is because my lender, my loan broker, is side by side with me. So I blessed my loan before even the LOI stage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and we did actually an entire episode of our show on how to, think about loans. Now, of course, we're dealing with loans that are a little bit smaller than the 40 or $50 million one you're talking about, but the principles are pretty similar, especially once you get in multifamily above $1 million, you start looking at the agency debt.
Sure.
Then you're looking for like key principles and experience and things like that, and of course sponsor net worth and things like that. So so people have more questions about that, they can of course check out your website, because I know your website is chock full of information, or they can look at our show as well. So you said you've never not closed once you got to an LOI. I think some people will just throw LOIs out and then do due diligence afterwards. You must be doing the due diligence ahead of time before you're making that offer then.
Oh my gosh, that is so great that you are pointing that out. It's so very true that we should be very, very critical, because we are buying millions of dollars. Once we close on that deal, keys are given to us. It's our baby. It's totally our baby, and that's why I really believe that we need to do due diligence on police reports, neighborhood, of course, the workplace, the jobs coming in, what's the emerging trends for the next 5 years, and then, of course, finding out if the property, how much different maintenance is there already before even we get into final stage of the contract. Because once we go into paying all these monies, we need to be sure that this is the deal we want. And that's how I do it. I make a decision with the numbers, but then also have the backing of what my business plan is going to be. So business plan is very important with the exit in mind. We have always heard about those things, but we need to look at the exit in mind, do the right projections, very conservative projections, also do the right exit cap rate, which is a big thing, also the insurance and also the taxes properly put together, the business plan of the rubs or the valet trash or the parking, all those things have to go in there, right? So that you feel without any doubt that this is the bride I want to marry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't agree more. And I'll tell you, I think one thing that people miss, especially when they're talking about track record right now, is that if somebody started 2 or 3 years ago or 4 years ago in multifamily, they're going to have a good track record because the market's been really strong.
Yes.
But for somebody like you who started much earlier than that, before the first crash, and have made it through, through the Great Recession, are you looking at the next several years differently? Like, what do you think's coming up?
Oh, I love it. I love it. This is my very good spot right there because see the
Ah,
I'm very much into multifamily. I'll be in multifamily. I did get, other places where people were trying to get me sidetracked into, industrial and, mobile homes and, what's that? The storage spaces like that. I just try to stay course, right? It's good to really be focused in one direction. Then you do very well in that, that particular direction. So multifamily is the bread and butter, which we'll be buying more. We have also completed the cycle on many of my deals because I've been in business so long. So I've given my investors their original back, plus the IRRs that I promised, even beat them many, many times also. Now I have been also looking into silver tsunami, which is going through USA. Being an engineer, I'm always reading a lot and looking at trends, and that fascinates me, the numbers and everything. So 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every night. Every midnight, 10,000 people are entering to be in the 65 plus, say similar numbers, not 10,000, in the 75 plus, then 85 plus. So for about 2 years, I've been thinking, how can I enter that market? And I'm very happy to report to you all that I have really partnered with a very fine partnership, senior build. Oh my gosh, I can't even. Yeah, senior living building or something.
Well, if you send it to us, we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
so people
I
can
will.
find
I
it.
will.
But,
Sorry about that.
But
Yeah,
you know what?
Build senior living. Oh my gosh, buildseniorliving.com.
Okay.
And
Great.
the good part is that we are building very high quality A plus, one story only, assisted senior living and memory cares in Florida and Virginia. Actually, my partner built 23 of them already before I
Wow.
even met him in Michigan. He lives in Michigan.
Oh, great.
I'm so happy that we have joined
You're
hands.
preaching to the choir here. So last week on the show, we had Harry Dent, actually,
Oh,
economic forecaster, prognosticator. And I asked him this question, and he said, single-story senior living is where he would put his money. He said those exact words. And then he said, you know where I would put my money is somewhere in the Rust Belt, the Midwest, like a Michigan, Ohio, and I would put single-story senior livings in those areas. He said almost those exact things. And you don't know this about me, but I mean, I invest in Michigan. That's where the majority of my investments are. Yeah,
oh my gosh.
So I'm very comfortable with that. We're in Chattanooga, Brian and I are. But,
you are.
Yeah, and we invest here as well and a couple other places. But
oh my gosh.
but yeah, senior living, I think you're onto something for sure.
Oh my gosh, we would love to invite you. We are going to be doing grand opening. Actually, we just opened this week, the one in Cape Coral, Florida.
Nice.
Beautiful 88 units, and I would love to send you a little after the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Brochure on that. But my partner built 23 of them in Michigan. Every town there is one. Hampton Manor is our brand. Hampton Manor. If anybody listening, they could just go there and check us out. And now we are building, like every month, we are starting a new one, in Florida and in Virginia, and then also in Texas and all over. We'll be going to all other places also. But thank you for sharing. I didn't know that.
You should probably check out the show because it's actually got a lot of fascinating information.
I will.
He's of course pessimistic about the future of most real estate, but he's optimistic actually about multifamily and senior living. And those are the two areas he thinks are going to be the strongest coming up. So it's good news for you, right?
I know. No, that's been my focus for the last couple of years. And now we are getting going very big time into assisted senior living, single story with courtyards. We believe in courtyards where the residents can come out and really have fun, planting vegetables and gardens and all, and the swimming pools and the spas and the movie theaters. We put movie theaters right there.
I kind of want to move there myself. I'm not even the right demographic, especially now in the corona. I miss movie theaters a lot right now because they're all closed, right? And I usually go to the movies a couple times a week. It's sort of my thing.
Totally. No, this is interesting. We should really chat a little bit more about it because I'm so passionate about multifamily B class because I can raise millions of dollars. I mean, I can raise 7 million in 7 hours. I did 4 million I raised over the weekend. Then I overshot it. Like in one of the senior living, we were raising money and it went to 5.6 million. I said, oh my gosh. So now I have to take that 1.6 into another, next facility and all that.
Well, that sounds like a good problem to have.
I know.
So, reading your book too, you talk about management being obviously a vital aspect of the business. I myself own a property management company here in town, and we manage obviously our assets and those of other clients. But how did you come about deciding to take your management in-house, so to speak, versus outsourcing it in the markets where you invest?
Thank you, Brian. Actually, when we bought our first properties in Odessa and Midland, I would love to say that's where we got our start because those were in the depression, downturn. They were having the best employment rates, right? So we were sitting in San Francisco area right here. I never moved, by the way. We have been living here for 40 years, in the Bay Area. And the key thing was, just like you said, we found when we bought our few assets, we were at the property more than the management company. I mean, and they were having troubles keeping up with the managers and all. We even collected rents. Can you believe it? My partner and I, we collected rents. We were manning our own property. We said, holy moly, wow. And then the other thing at that time, we were naive, right? We said, how can we not pay our cash? It was like cash and accrual basis kind of accounting, which they said, no, you got to drop this money in the bank. You cannot give it out to the investors and all that stuff. So we said, let's just start the business. So now we have had like 2 acquisition companies and 2 management companies. We have always managed our assets vertically, only our assets, nobody else's. But that's how we have done. And how I did that was, again, hiring the best consultant in USA, fly her into Texas, and she did it. She built our whole company from scratch in 2.5 months. That was the best 35,000 or 40,000 I ever spent, and she built it so good that we are able to, never look back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Brian probably should have hired this person apparently, so he didn't have to do it himself.
Offline later. Yeah.
But
Totally. No, I think that's the best thing we did. And I tell my investors, I do investor meetings every quarter on the quarter. I've been doing it for 12 years. And I invite my investors on Zoom or GoToMeeting or WebEx. Zoom got more popular now. So I invite them. We record them also live. And they ask me questions live. Total transparency. That's the other thing I would like to tell your audience. Please open your business to your investors so that they can look at everything, the bids, the bank accounts. Everybody gives them rent rolls and the P&Ls, but we need to show them all the capex and all the major things going on at the property. Bring a lot of pictures and the staff pictures and what we have done at the property to them in the PowerPoint presentations, because that's the only thing they can feel and touch and see, and they can sleep good at nighttime, right? That's what I believe in syndication world. Fiduciary responsibility to take care of the investors' money is so foremost, and that should be the real key. Investors are gold. I always say that they are gold. Residents are gold. We never say tenants. They are residents in our premier communities, Monil premier communities. And then of course our staff at the peak, I had 135 staff full time in my companies, managing and everything, and accounting department, PR and payroll department and all that, right? Investor relations vice president, all those stuff, right? So the key thing is transparency will get you so much more business. It's amazing. I only have 172 investors. That's all. 172 gives me millions of dollars, and I give it back to them in few years. Then they turn it around and give me again and again and again.
and if it's working for them, then they'll keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the big takeaway, I think.
Yeah.
So you have just started a new podcast, and that one's about senior living, right?
Yes. Yes.
So why did we start a new podcast? Why not just add on to the one you already have? Like what's
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I really believe we're in the crisp of something happening in this country for the next 40 years. Next 40 years, we have 54.1 million, maybe 65 plus population. It's going to be 100 million. So every 5-10 years, it's going to be amazing. And there is a huge shortage for the really good quality senior living space in USA. So we thought, why not we start a podcast to educate people? So Shahid, my very good friend and partner, then John Rusin and myself, we are starting this. We started it. Our first show was last Thursday. Next show is this Thursday coming up. Every 5 o'clock, we record it in Pacific time through StreamYard, same platform. Yeah. We'll be doing it, and we have so many people coming and giving us and hearing and all that.
And you do it live so people can comment on Facebook or whatever. Yeah, we do that on my other show. It's really a great way to do it. Yeah.
Totally.
Of course, it makes scheduling guests a little bit harder because you're like, this is the time we do it. You have to be available at that time.
You're so right. We don't bring too many guests. We'll be bringing our own team members as guests, like nurses, caregivers, maybe some residents, and bring that emotionality into the show. That's what we're thinking.
I'm excited to check that out. I didn't catch last week's, but I'll definitely be watching out for that. So what about your book? You told us offline about your new book coming out. When is that coming out?
Oh my gosh, I think we are almost there. My publisher is working on it. That's the Positivity Brings Profitability. I owe it to my wife, actually. We've been married for 40 years. We celebrated 40th anniversary in April. And when my other book became international top seller, the one Apartment Syndication Made Easy, you know what she said? She says, you know what? That's only for very limited audiences. I am glad it's becoming good, but you have been so positive for 39 years. You need to write a book on positivity, literally. Guess what I did? The next morning, I started to write.
It's great. I love this about you, actually. You're always smiling. Even people call you Mr. Smile or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And you have a whole philosophy about that. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
it's kind of like I believe in few universal laws, right? And I hope everybody does believe in that. I believe in law of secret or the law of attraction. It's what we believe, what we think, we achieve. And manifestation happens right like that. So when I came from India 43 years back, somehow when I was doing sales, I was getting good at it. They took my middle name out and put in parenthesis smile. So like Vinney Smile Chopra on my plaques and trophies and all that. I said, oh my gosh, wow. you know,
Yeah.
and so I have lived with that smile in the middle name for 40 years, over 40 years. And I also believe that things happen for a reason. That's what it is. Whether it's bad, worse, ugly, good, it happens for a reason. The sooner we accept it and then just take it on the chin, and then you are able to deal with that much better, much faster, quicker. And then positivity brings so many more things, abundance in our life as such, you know. And I remember my wife, I mean, I was making $10,000 state commission when we got married, right? 10,000 a year. I told my wife, you know, we're going to make 5 times that in just 2, 3 years. She says, what? Are you crazy? You know, I remember that. But we did it. You know, I was making 50,000 and this and that. So manifestation is really big. So positivity has been very much. And Vinod, my real name, by the way, in Indian language means happiness. Holy
Ah,
cow. So my parents gave me that wording. I have to live up to that, right?
yeah, that's great. So you're kind of preaching to the choir on this one for sure, because I have a personal life philosophy of not ever having bad days. I
Oh,
decided when I
love
was
it.
17, no more bad days. I haven't had one since. Good, bad stuff happens to me. I go on podcasts and talk about this all the time, and so this is my passion. Tell people you have to be positive,
I love
and you
it.
have to you have to craft the life that you want, and whatever you dream about, whatever you think about, whatever you believe is going to
Mhm.
happen, that's where you're headed. You point yourself in the direction of what you want, and that's how you get
For sure, for sure. I mean, just by being a little bit more positive, and a lot of people ask me, Vinny, are you smiling? You know, when I'm sleeping, also, my wife says sometimes, yes, you know. But the thing is, you got to really attitude. The mindset is so important in our life. We feed, I say that in my podcast too, we feed so much money, hundreds of dollars in dinners and this and all from the mouth down, right? But from the mouth up, we need to really invest a lot of good money to really get our mindset. Nowadays you don't even have to invest any money. Google and YouTube are my best friends. They really are. I mean, you know, you get up in the morning and you say, give me positivity, you know, some video, right? Short video on positivity, and the YouTube just sends out to you right away. You click on it, you can change your state of mind, just like Tony Robbins. And you know, we are all product of Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Dale Carnegie, you know, I mean, John C. Maxwell, of course, you know, all these great people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. We talked about mentorship when we first started and how you paid a mentor, but if people don't have $30,000 or don't have access to it, they can get access to people like
Totally.
Tony Robbins
Totally.
or Vinney Chopra,
Totally.
just by getting online and watching free content. There's so much
Please.
available.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad you're saying that. I hope so. You know, I mean, everybody, most of the great mentors, they have all these things free, you know, and you can just go on online and, you know, just search the word Vinney Chopra or search word, you know, in the YouTube, Vinney Chopra, you bet.
Yeah. Yeah, so I see, and I follow you on Instagram, and you post a lot of great stuff there. You just had a video last week, I think, about going through your closet and looking at your ties, and I thought that was really great because this was a behind the scenes look at Vinney Chopra. He's got his hair all messed up, and he's showing us his closet and how he decides what to wear. It's fantastic.
Thank you, thank you. I know I recorded it when they asked me, my marketing people. I said, "Are you sure you want to show that?" I said, "Vinny, show who you are." So yeah,
It's about being authentic, right? And if you have a positive personality in real life, then you don't have to hide anything
no,
about your life. You can just go out and you said your wife can take a picture of you sleeping and you'll be smiling then, right? We can put that on Instagram next week.
Thank you. You guys are amazing. Amazing. We could talk for hours and
Oh,
hours.
we could. I know we're going to have to wrap up soon. Is there anything that you want to share with our listeners, or any place you want to direct them where you're saying, hey, if they want to find out more about you?
I would say that, anybody listening to us or watching us even later, please do set goals. Set goals, short-term goals, daily goals, weekly goals, and massive action. I really believe in that. And just be a little bit more positive, because, if you're bogged down with certain issues in your life, go ahead and write them down and then think about them and say, you know what? It's not me. How can I change that state? I know it's easy when I say that, but it's not that easy when we do it, right? But the biggest thing is the mind shift. And I hope that you are very, very successful in whatever you're doing. And if you want to know more about me, that's vinneychopra.com. Vinney. There is an E in there. Vinneychopra.com.
Yeah, I've got it streaming on the bottom of the screen there, so hopefully I
Sure.
got it right.
Yeah, I just saw it.
Yeah, no worries. But Brian, anything you want to ask Vinney before he leaves us?
I mean, gosh, this has been great. So I'm sort of out of questions, actually.
See, Brian's just he's a big fan of yours, so he's kind of intimidated. He's like, I don't know what to ask.
Love to meet you guys. You said Chattanooga. I used to go to Nashville quite a lot. Nashville. And of course, Atlanta we purchased. So I love Chattanooga, by the way. Train, right? Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Choo-choo.
Jillian Sidoti, when she came on our show, she actually sang the Chattanooga Choo Choo for us. So if you want to, you're welcome to join her in singing the Chattanooga Choo Choo for our show anytime. I'm sure she'll do it with you.
That's so kind of you. That's so kind of you. No, we should do it. Maybe all four of us, Jillian, you, and
I would love to do it. We're happy to have you on a Last Life Ever show as well. But yeah, Jillian is always welcome back here as well, and I think she knows that. So yeah, and anytime you want to come on the show, you just let us know, and we'll have you on. So. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it, and we hope you have an amazing and wonderful day.
You too, and God bless you with abundance of everything and all the success in your life. And thank you so much for having me come on your show. Thank you.
For sure. Thank you. Thanks for being here.